I don't know who needs to hear this today, but if we can finish Redux after over 4 years, you can finish your project too. Go make something. I'll be waiting right here. Okay, so you know those utterly nasty second phases that From Software likes to put in their boss fights? That was the Chapter 10 experience. It took us months just to get the finale in a state where we didn't utterly despise our edits, and longer still to actually enjoy the chapter. Haven Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, is composed of chapters 12, 13, 14, and the end of the Adam character short for good measure. Wave goodbye to the table, everybody. You won't be seeing it again for a while. One of the reasons why the final chapter of the original Volume 5 never really felt climactic to me was because all of the major plot threads were essentially resolved in the previous episode, leaving Chapter 14 to be something of an extended epilogue. Once again, consolidation is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, leading to a finale that's packed with material, which shouldn't be surprising since we're like 30 seconds away from the Lost Fable. As a side note, I never really got over the Chapter 13 thumbnail spoiling the maiden reveal like 6 years ago, so I decided we'd remove the flames from ours. Shout out to Edelweiss for handling the paint out, which is why it looks so clean. There's a link to her channel in the description. Hazel is no longer telepathic. Crow actually lands after being punched into the stratosphere. Oh yeah, remember when I said, I'm sure this won't cause problems later. To maintain congruity with Chapter 9, Random Words had to mask, track, and brighten every single light source in every single shot of this entire sequence. He also fixed the lighting continuity between these two shots. This awkward punch-in is no more. Random Words made the Queen Lancer summon pop more against the background, and the Leo, get down. I don't know where you're supposed to be, but it's probably not on the stairs. Omen can now be heard rotating and clicking into place each time a new blade is selected. The sword clash makes a noise now. Raven no longer points out a weakness in Cinder's arm that she never takes advantage of. Some additional visual elements were added to this rock splitting animation, and Raven's sword breaking on the downward swing actually reads now. Cinder hears Vernal's weapon instead of Raven drawing attention to it. A slight rotation was applied to Cinder's fall, and now you can hear a splash when she hits the water. The vault door casts an edge light on Vernal's face, and her pupils are dilated now. Leonardo runs away because he takes a hit from the Queen Lancer instead of getting shot in the face. Blake is no longer trapped in her jumping pose, and Leo, what did I say? Salem no longer prompts Leo to confess. He knows what he did. And finally, we added blood again. Yay. There's a lot to talk about in this one, so I'm just gonna go through all the major beats in chronological order. We open the chapter with Oscar's confrontation with Hazel, which houses a subtle but significant tweak. Volume 5 made a couple attempts to portray Ozpin as morally gray, but his actions were never really strong enough to stick the landing. Between these two, Hazel's anger is far more justified, but the audience loses sympathy for his arguments against needless child murder when he attempts to murder a child. Two of them, actually. By removing Hazel's Saruman impression and keeping him silent, we make it look like Oscar's words are actually getting through to him, but it's at that crucial moment that Ozpin selfishly takes over, ruining their chance at diplomacy. Next, to avoid Hazel standing outside doing nothing for half an episode, we imply that he was knocked unconscious when he was sent through the wall, which leads us to the Adam sequence. It's no secret that Volume 5's finale turned Adam into something of a laughingstock, which isn't really a problem in a vacuum, but after Redux Chapter 6, we wanted to maintain at least some sense of threat. He'll get his chance, don't worry. The lowest hanging fruit was to cut out these lines.
I am making humanity pay for what they've done!
What do we do?
How? How did you do this?
Another thing we did was have the White Fang surrender immediately, which stops the off-screen war from breaking out. It also makes more sense for Sun to say,
There doesn't seem to be a lot of people here willing to fight for you,
when they actually aren't, as opposed to being willing to fight and just losing. Bringing the two Adam scenes closer together, along with the shortened runtime, makes his escape feel a tad more feasible overall. So, Hazel finally comes to and injects himself with dust, but while he charges up, he gets interrupted by the Queen Lancer answer. Raven's fight with Cinder plays fairly close to the original, save for some dialogue concessions. But where the original Chapter 13 ended, we power through. In the original, when Ruby yells checkmate, it rather abruptly cuts to Yang's confrontation with Raven. Instead, we go straight from checkmate to Leonardo, while still being an extension of the previous scene, since we were just watching him mere moments ago. One of my personal grievances with the original volume was the heroes winning completely off-screen. Cutting straight from the vault to Yang riding the elevator makes her the focus of the scene instead, and keeps things moving. There was also a bunch of dialogue here, but all the important details in it are repeated in Volume 6, so we elected to just keep it silent. And lastly, the post-credits scene has been swapped out for the end of the Adam character short, which leads more appropriately into the next volume. Yes, I know he gets his mask back for a bit in Volume 6, but that's comfortably outside of the realm of my problem. Speaking of problems, this freaking guy, more than any other character, loves to teleport. Here's a fun game. This isn't just a Redux thing, by the way. You can do this with the original volume as well. It's called Where's Leonardo? Play along at home and try to find him, because he's never where you expect. The jump between these two shots feels a little bit jerky. We added a fire effect to try and make it work better, but there just wasn't a lot of other material to choose from to serve the purpose, so this is probably the best it's gonna get. Maintaining the theme of Leonardo-centric critique, his role in Volume 5 was already fairly minor, but removing some of his previous moments does somewhat lessen the impact of this scene. And it also makes the Discord Grim come out of nowhere. That's a wrap. 3 words I was not expecting to use in a Volume 5 Redux context, and yet here we are. God, it feels good to say. Look, when we started the project, I didn't even have a channel to upload it to. We were probably just gonna put it on an invite-only forum or something, but making the edit public, while absolutely mortifying, might have been one of the best decisions we could have made. I've had such a great time reading the comments, praise and critique alike. Cliche as it sounds, you guys gave us the motivation to finish this project. But don't just take it from me. Random words, you're up.
I'm not sure if we would have gotten Chapter 10 done if it wasn't for you guys, because it wasn't easy. Thank you guys.
Yeah, what he said. And because it's the finale, I've cooked up an extra special outro.